What is up, everybody? Bingo here. I'm with the Duel Factory for Season 2, Episode 8 of X2 Drop, our Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast we do every week. And this week's topic is good cards and bad archetypes. So, I know we had 2 ICSs this weekend, but the results are kind of hard to find, and we really just want to wait until next weekend to dissect them and hopefully have a guest on if we can. But this one should be pretty fun. It should be a lot more like relaxed and fun, and then we'll start arguing because we all have differing opinions. But Joe, you've been playing a lot longer than me in the competitive scene. What are some cards that you can think of that they're just really generically good, but they suck as a deck?
The entirety of Yu-Gi-Oh! No, I'm just playing.
All right, that's it, guys. See you next week.
There you go. But fun fact, this is the second time we've been recording this episode because we tried doing it the other day and John was incapacitated. That's all. I'll leave it at that. But there are several good cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That are just like in god-awful archetypes, and I think like the most infamous one right now, if you can think about it, and we've been waiting how long to get it? 2 years, is Krishan Needle Fiber. Like it's like a perfect example of like a great Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, but its archetypes is actually awful.
Yeah, and of course, like it works in its archetype, but that's not the point. It's just immeasurably better outside of it. If like needle fiber is generic for some ungodly reason, and it can facilitate a link 4 play all on its own, and if there's absolutely no reason a deck should not be playing that card.
Oh, for sure.
Like, that card's good enough to make, like, fucking Theseus a valid instant fusion target.
I don't know if we go that far, but it is a play.
No, I mean, is in the OCG, like, obviously, OCG and TCG are different, but that's been consistently popping up over the course of the past few years. But, I mean, it's not staple by any means, but...
Yeah, and just you can make it.
Christians are just like, they just didn't age well. I don't really know. Were they any good on release?
So there was like for a hot minute, the Christian Rosenix, I think it's the level 9 synchro. It's the red one. It could banish trap cards, and it was played in DDD for one event to out Paleozoic, and that was it.
Well,
like yeah, there's that.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Krishan's whole shtick is they synchro summon on your opponent's turn to summon bad monsters, and that's about it.
Like bad monsters. Like the deck doesn't have a win con. Like you can play Needle Fiber in its own archetype, and the deck still doesn't have a win con. It's just a bad deck with Needle Fiber.
Yeah, its main boss monsters like that level 12 dude. That's like super hard. Like you need like like 2 synchros and a Krishan tuner or something. I have no idea. I'm just
it's got nothing going for it. But I tell you, a deck that honestly it takes it to an extreme, and it was just popular in this last YCS and stuff like that. I was watching in the watching in the stream on YouTube and stuff like that. But Spiral, because think about it. Double Helix is a phenomenal card, right? Like, it just is. Like, it gets, like, Master Plan out of the deck and lets you do all these combo plays and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But, like, if you take Double Helix away from that deck, Spiral's still, like, a generically bad deck. Like, it doesn't have any solid standalone cards.
Yeah, because, I mean, that's your access to Master Plan without, like, going out of your way. And that's why, like, before Double Helix, like, Spiral did the same thing. It just sucked because it couldn't get Master Plan out of the deck.
Yeah, like you didn't have a way to access these cards, and it made a really like because you get to play that card now. It made a card that was initially on like paper like really bad. Now it's like really good because now like you have a way to access it out of the deck. You have a way to summon it. You have a way to abuse the pluses you get from a field spell that's kind of insane and stuff like that. But as a whole, like the deck itself is not good without that one single card.
Yeah,
and that's kind of like.
I think that goes against like the theme though. That's like a good card that broke an archetype because like you can't play that in anything but Spiral.
Right. Well, not necessarily though, because think about it. That deck's completely unplayable without that, so it's still a good card, but it's in a bad archetype.
Well, it ties the whole archetype together. See, that's where I differ. Like, yes, if that card didn't exist, Spiral wouldn't be anywhere close to the power level it is, but it's still it still has sleeper, it still functions, and it just holds it together nicely.
To a degree. Like, yeah. Yes, it still has sleeper, but like it doesn't have like the combo ability.
No, absolutely not. So, a good card and a bad archetype. Modern standard just came out. Magician Souls, right? Like, it's a dark magician support card.
Like that card, like it's actually insane because like if you think about like so you have the Spiral deck, you have the Lunalite deck. You see it popping up in some rogue strategies. Like what is it? YCS Utrecht. I saw this is one of the profiles I saw. It had a top 16 Orcus deck that played it just so it could get like extra copies of like Return and like Crescendo out of the hand to draw extra cards and stuff like that. Like it gave those decks like all like boosts, but like the Dark Magician deck is still like not a good deck.
No. And like it's an insane card because Deception's a wild man, so like take this with a grain of salt. But he's going as far as playing 2 of the bricks so that it always resolves, and then on top of that, he's playing a Dark Magician to search off of the brick.
We're disregarding any of his opinions anymore after that. I didn't. That we can disregard him as a player at that point. This man's doing what?
Yeah. So it was the list Doug just posted in chat not that long ago. His list is just like it's a total Deception list. He's
shout out for Sauces French for giving us the info.
He was playing triple Gamma, triple Delta, and 3 Souls, 2 Apprentice, 1 Dark Magician, and just like his whole list was spicy. And he was playing 2 of the Cyframe Trap, but.
Yeah, I really have to watch this. I really have to go and look at this list now because that's actually insane.
That's why Doug posted it, because my drunk ass built Cyframes, and it was like wasn't even close to exactly the same. But like the main theory was there, like the Lunalite card.
The theory was there. So essentially, what we're trying to say is Drunk John is sober at Deception, which is kind of scary to think about, but that's besides the point.
So on Cyframes, you can argue Cyframe Gamma or Cyframe Lord Omega, like the Cyframe deck is just like this horribly constructed deck in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, but like the individual cards all have niches in the right metagame. Like Omega is limited, so like that was a hand loop on its own.
The deck is awful. It literally does nothing. It has a 0% opening rate when it 100% brick rate is what I should say, because you literally can't play any of the cards. However, they do have 3 good cards in their archetype. They have Gamma, which is one of the most popular hand traps. They have our boy Omega, who he's at 1 for a reason, and Lambda, which makes Gamma playable, and it's a generic link. So they have 3 good cards, but the deck is still awful.
Yeah,
like awful.
And then going past that, and you'll see a lot of these cards are like in the side deck because they just serve a specific purpose, like Gamma Seal. Like the Kaiju deck just isn't. It's not a deck. Like it's so hard to play. It's so clunky. Like it's so frustrating. But
see, the Kaiju deck, like it's kind of weird, right? Like I'm almost positive like Konami like designed the Kaijus just to be side monsters. And, like, Gamma Seal is the one that took off the most because it was, like, the most ideal kaiju to summon. But, like, as a functioning deck, it actually doesn't do anything.
Yeah. And, like, I think the kaijus were just designed because the theme of the archetype is cool. Like, obviously, Konami's Japanese, and, like, the kaiju theme is huge in, like, old movies and new movies. And, like, Godzilla.
Gajira.
And, like, it's just a cool deck to have, right? It's just the way it works just doesn't. But then you have Gamma Seal, who's the weakest kaiju, which is why it's good, as well as like back. It's not so much anymore, but you had like Saryuja Turbo with like Waterfront and Gamma Seal, because Gamma Seal's actual effect is just insane.
Mm-hmm. What is it? The only other comic kaiju that gets actual plays like Doggeram, because like it's searchable through Oviraptor. It's like a searchable out.
Yeah, and then you have Radian for like really dark focus decks, And then like the other ones have niche play. Like I play two, like people will play 2 Gamma Seal and 1 Sticky String so that their kaiju's bigger than your opponent. It's something very minute like that. But
oh yeah, for sure.
And then we got Dino Wrestler Pankratops. I don't even know if that is even a deck at this point. It's just a bunch of cards with the same name.
Technically, it's a deck. Now, it's a deck that doesn't do anything, but it produced one of the best side deck monsters to date. Like, that card is actually just insane. Like, I can't tell you how many situations like it handles perfectly, but like its deck itself, like I'm not entirely sure what the idea was, but I know like they can summon when your opponent controls more monsters than you do, and then like they have like effects that go off that like try to generate advantage, but they don't. And like it has the classic theme of being dinosaurs, so like you know it's gonna brick already. Shout outs to Dino players.
Apparently Dino's positioned extremely well this format, but all right, moving on. Let's get into some of the extra deck monsters. Like there are a fuck ton here. Like
Evil Swarm Exciton.
That was the first one I was going to say because that deck, I mean, it had its time, right? Evil Swarms had its time to play.
It goes to my buddy Bobby's classic phrase where a deck is only as good as its best matchup. And its best matchup was Dragon Rulers, and that's long since passed.
Yeah, I mean, Ophion, it negates your opponent can't summon level 5 or higher, right?
Yeah, and it searches it searches pandemic spell or trap cards.
Yeah, and
so it can search an archetype themed lance.
Just like cards like Crimson Blader, like the level on monsters matters less and less the more time passes. Like Link monsters are fucking insanely good. You have Xyz monsters.
Yeah, it just makes everything else irrelevant.
But Exciton Knight was banned for a very, very long time. And now we have it back. And it is seeing a ton of play in the Lunalight strategy because it's just a blowout. It fucking annihilates. And if your opponent does not respect that card, they're going to lose.
Yeah, they just flat out lose, bro. Like, that's it. Like, it's almost like you didn't get to play much of 2014, did you?
No. Outside of what we've gone back and played.
Okay, because like one of the popular, like not a lot of decks did this, but the Infernity deck 100% did this. If they got caught going second and stuff like that, they would play cards like that's one of the reasons why Dinotherium saw a lot of play in that deck, because Dinotherium made it to where your opponent got to special summon a monster out of the graveyard if you're playing against like a combo deck, and your opponent's going to do that because it gives them a free monster to use and stuff like that, and it just ensured that your opponent had more cards than you did, so that way like you could summon an Exciton and they would like be forced to negate it or lose their field. And then they would just get a combo for free because, you know, they're Infernity players, so they always have Soul Charge.
Oh, all right.
That's life, though, but, like, that was the play.
And then we have all of the Ice Bearer boss monsters because there is not a shred of consistency or functionality in the Ice Bearer deck. I don't know if anyone's ever read those cards and tried to put them together, but it doesn't work. And they have
some really cool cards.
Yeah,
like General Kantala is like super cool.
Their artwork is pretty, but as far as summoning the synchros, like it just doesn't work at all. But Trish is insane. I mean, how long was that card banned for?
You can thank Infernity for that one. It was at 1 for a long time, and then it got banned, and then like we got it back at like. Oh, I'd like to say the tail end of 2015, beginning of 2016, we got it back, and people were going nuts over it. It was dope.
Yeah, and then Brio, without its errata originally, it was banned, right?
Oh yeah, it was banned. You couldn't bring it back with pre-errata text. Like that'd be insane.
And then
that would actually be insane.
And then Duloran, which is probably the lesser known out of all of them, but. That card.
There was a loop with him that got him put to 2. No, I think it's at 2. It's either at 2 or at 1, but there was a loop with him. That's why I got some.
I don't think it's at 2. But yeah, it's because it
was for the longest time.
Soft once per turn. And then the fucking Nat Beast and Exterio Naturia cards.
Don't come at my boy Bamboo Shoot.
Yeah, I mean that your opponent can't activate what spell or traps or something like that?
I think so. Something like it's a floodgate, but like Barkion and Beast are like broken, and like the deck is not.
Yeah, just if you can summon Nat Beast against the right deck, you just
It's
win.
an auto win.
Yeah,
Like yeah, it's just a free win. But like I don't know. There's a lot of other decks that you like take the extreme to this and stuff like that. But like that, those are just prime examples of just like they're like bomb cards. Like you just summon them, and like your opponent just can't play.
yeah. Again,
But like you put them in an archetype, and like they don't function.
yeah, or they're extremely hard to get out. But then you have decks like the Burning Abyss deck, where if you're trying to, you can make Nat Beast pretty easily. I mean, that's the only one I can think of right now. But if you're trying to do it, it comes in and out of metagames, and then you have
Look at
the Dino combos with like VFD to summon Nat Beast. It's a lot easier after Master Rule 4, but
yeah, for sure. Speaking of the Dino deck, they play two cards that are a perfect example of this: Evil Sword Dolka and Evil Sword Lagia. Like those are perfect examples of cards outside their like because their archetype's not very good. Like it's just not like it saw a little bit of play when it first got released, but like it was those two particular cards were just better in strategies like Dino Rabbit, which Dino Rabbit wasn't really an archetype. It was just like
yeah, just
what's good to summon off Rescue Rabbit, and they're like, oh sweet, look at these dinosaur cards that summon these dragons.
Yeah, summon these Judgment or Strike.
Yeah, for sure.
What else we got? We got. I have shout outs to the beach ball on here.
Yeah, you do.
Fucking I sold the embodiment of this card is busted outside of
It got played
okay.
in everything but its own
Yeah. Not saying Noble Knight players wouldn't play it. They definitely would play one or two, and it's good in that deck, but it is just unbelievably busted in any YGO Pro combo deck.
YGO Pro combo deck. Let's go.
So if anyone didn't play during Goki format, you should feel lucky because that format was just I still think that's my most disliked format of all time. Was Goki.
The format was awful. That was actually I'll tell you a card that honestly that we've like completely overlooked so far is look at Solomon Great Almirage.
Yeah, true. I mean
it's played in everything but its own deck.
That is the embodiment of this topic. It like there's absolutely no reason Salomon Great needs that card or would ever want that card over Baylinks because the same summoning
but like here's the thing, like
it doesn't do anything.
Solomon Great's not a bad archetype. Like it's actually like a super consistent, but like Almirage just has no place in it. But it's a broken card. Because like look at the shit all invoke decks right now that are going all around. That's like part of the key combo because that's like part of their Kaliga play. Yeah. Like, oh, look at all these cool stuff I can do. And it's like, oh, it's because Almirage lets you do that.
Yeah, with these Link ones, Kona, like I'm glad we're moving away from like Link monsters being the primary focus because eventually they would have just printed like a generic Link 1 that pointed down right that like any normal summon monster can make, and that would just be so bad for the game.
Oh, it'd be awful.
And
awful.
Like this card, it has to have 1,000 or less attack, and already like Invoked is good, Altergeist is good, and I don't even want to like. Yeah, I know ABC is a bad deck, but I really don't want somebody to normal summon A, equip C, and turn it into a fucking Link 1.
ABC's not a bad deck, it's just misunderstood. I said what I said.
Alright, what are some you could think of before I keep shouting off some?
So there's a recent archetype that was released out of what's the name of it? Is Infinity Chasers and like the Infinitrack deck. I think that deck is like super awful, but I think like the artworks are super cool, and there's like actual cards in there that actually have like competitive merit. So, like, obviously the most recent version of it that you saw, not version of the deck, but that played an Infinitrack card was Megaclops in the Zoo strategy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like a solid boss monster to summon in that deck and stuff like that. But, like, you don't ever see it played in anything other than that deck. Like, you can't, like, the Infinitrack deck just doesn't have the consistency.
Yeah.
But it produces that card, right?
Yeah, in theory.
In theory. And then another card that's actually really good that you see in the Cyber Dragon Orcus deck that made this popular was the River Stormer card that lets you search a Earth Machine type monster. Which, if you see in the Cyber Dragon Orcus combos or stuff like that, whenever you do like core Machine Duke, you go like core, activate the effect, and then add whatever search or trap spell that you're going for. And then Machine Duke the 2 Cyber Dragons. And then now what the play is you make them into River Stormer by detaching the Cyber Dragon to go get Scrap Recycler out of your deck, so that way you can link the 2 monsters into Platinum Gadget. Then Platinum Gadget gets a special summon the Scrap Recycler out of your hand, and then that sends the Orcus part, and then you get to Orcus combo for free. But, like, you can't play it in the Infinitrack deck because, again, the deck's unplayable.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cards that will have very niche use. Like, they'll be very, very good in certain strategies when just the stars align, and it's just like in the Zoo deck or right now in the Cyber Dragon Orcus deck, like you were just talking about. But, like, it just doesn't meld well together, and that's the whole
point. Not at all. It's, like, really upsetting because, like, I think it's a deck that had, like, it's one of the things, like, especially, like, stuff like that, because we have some of my buddies like playing the Infinitrack cards. It just had so much potential. Like, there was so much hype. The artworks were so good for the cards, and then they just released the effects, and I was just like, this is what it's like to not chew 5 gum.
All right, so moving on to one I want to mention is, again, it's kind of meta-relevant, is Scrap Wyvern.
Yeah.
So I don't really know anything about the Scrap archetype. I know it did have its time in the metagame a long time ago because, what's it called? Scrap Dragon's like a good card.
But yeah, that archetype's produced 2 cards that have been very, very good in Wyvern, and before it was Scrap Dragon. And, like, I know when Duelist, I think when the cards got released for Duelist Revolution, which that set revolutionized Yu-Gi-Oh! But, like, when you played it, like, that deck was actually really good because it was a consistent deck, and it grinded really well because of cards like Chimera and stuff like that, but it didn't withstand this test of time. And then 2014 came out with Primal Origins, I believe is when the card came out. It got Scrap Factory and it got a little bit of a resurgence, but it still wasn't like a tier 1 deck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, like, the cards it produced were tier 1. Like, Scrap Dragon was just a generic 8 that could be played in any deck. Scrap Wyvern's like the key combo piece of almost every combo deck now, because you can make Appaloosa before you commit any of your actual cards. So it's like those cards are like outstanding, but its deck itself isn't very good. And it has broken cards in the deck that just don't meld well with the current meta.
All right. Jumping back in time a little bit, Gaga Cowboy. Like, ignoring the one Onomatopoeia deck that just topped the Lunalite mess, those cards have literally done nothing in the past. And Cowboy has seen more play than a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards can ever hope to because of its time back in Xyz format.
Well, yeah, it was like the perfect card to like wrap up a match and stuff like that. Even Samurai was really good.
Yeah, that was going to be the next one.
Itself was just like awful, like super awful. Shout out to my boy Colin because he loved playing that deck. But it was awful. There's no changing that.
Yes, Samurai during Zoo format. It kind of fell off toward like the Kaiju Zoo, like OTK deck kind of died off for more control, but like it put so much pressure on. It's 3,400 points of damage, or is it 38?
38. It's 1,900.
It's 19. And but like the Gaga Magician and all those other fucking main deck monsters are just not good.
Oh no, not at all. Like Gaga Girl is like not good. Like Gaga Child had like potential, but like it wasn't enough to make the deck any more playable than it already is, which is 0, by the way.
All right, one of your favorite cards to talk about is W Nebula Meteorite or whatever.
This is literally the epitome of fantastic mixed with awful.
So there's going to be some people that don't know what this does. So what the fuck is this card?
So W Nebula Meteorite, it's a trap card, okay? And it goes with one of the dual terminal stories and stuff like that. But basically what W Nebula Meteorite is basically, if I remember its effect right, it flips all monsters on the field from face-up attack position. From face-up attack position or face-up to face-down defense position, okay? So that's its first effect. And at the end phase that this card resolves, it flips all monsters back face-up, and I believe you get a draw card for every monster that was flipped face-up. And then you can special summon any worm-type monster out of your deck, okay? That's a general synopsis of it. The flip monsters, you might only get a draw for if they're warm monsters. But that's a general idea of the deck. This card's actually insane because you get raw advantage off it, you get a free monster, and you get free cards. The crippling flaw of this card is that it's built in the fucking worm archetype. And these cards are actually awful.
Yeah, the worm archetype, for anyone that doesn't know, there's one for each letter of the alphabet, right?
Say it one more time.
There's one for each letter of the alphabet, right?
Yeah, there's one, like there's Yagen, and then there's one with an X, and then there's Worm Drake, and then there's King. There's a bunch of them, but the point being is like the deck is just 100% awful, 100% unplayable, and like that one card, if it was printed in any other deck, would have just been insane. But like it is just not playable at all. Like, see, Double Nebula, let me read exactly. Change all face-down monsters on the field to face-up defense position during the end phases turn. Change all face-up light reptile monsters you control to face-on defense position. And draw one card on the field. So, yeah, you basically get to resolve your warm effects for free.
Yeah,
and it's just so bad.
There's 20-plus main deck monsters in this archetype, and not one of them has a somewhat decent effect.
Yagen has the best one probably, and it bounces a card. I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
they're just not good.
I mean, we're not gonna fucking pretend to argue that. I got Cyber Angel Ben 10 here. I think the deck is just god awful, but it's just a good generic fairy card.
It's neat. Like its archetype does cute things, but like the only reason we know it exists is because Ben 10 searches Christia. Let's be real here.
Yeah. Bardiche. Well, see, I had a problem putting this one on the list because, like, the PK cards aren't really bad. Like, they're just kind of slow by modern standards. But Bardiche,
the only problem is
just fucking nuts.
Phantom Knights themselves aren't like a good standalone deck, honestly.
Yeah, there's
there's obviously the times of like PK Fire and stuff like that, but people forget to realize what like made the PK cards good at that time is because they had so much synergy with Dante just milling a bunch of cards, and they were just good extenders at the time. Because like you can't take like a PK engine and just randomly throw it in a deck now. Bardiche made those cards playable, but like without it, like it's just not as good. Like you can still do like Curious, but like you don't get the extra body on the field that it produced, which is basically what happened with that combos.
Like, Bardiche generated so much advantage, and it was just so easy to go into that. Like, why wouldn't you play it? Like, that's why it was in almost every deck.
Any deck that could combo, and any deck that had dark monsters, you could play it in.
And then we got the good old Neospatian Connector. Neospace Connector.
Played in everything but its own archetype.
I mean, Neos is just like a horrible deck. It's period.
I'm not disagreeing, and I love Heroes, but like the Neos theme is just fucking awful.
Is Connector only good because Isold's good? Yes. But that doesn't make it any less good.
Connector is only as good as the card it can bring out. It just so happens Aqua Dolphin is broken.
Yeah. All right, apparently we're already at like 30 minutes almost, so you got any final thoughts?
Other than, Douglas French has the sauce, but nothing.
It's the weekly staple. But guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to check us out next week. Hopefully, we'll be going over the YCS results, and hopefully, we'll have a guest on stream. But we go live every Monday at 08 on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and just about every place that does podcasts, and YouTube at 10 a.m. So if you do have a topic idea, please let us know. We like to hear what you guys have to say, and there's really not much interaction as far as the live RSS feeds going out to like iTunes and Google Play. So check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/bingohd and youtube.com/theduelfactory. But I got nothing else, so I'll see you next week.
Also, John Moore can suck my ass.
God damn it.
You're welcome.